Welcome to the Beyond the Vines podcast, where I interview local business owners in Sonoma County to highlight small business and grow our community. I'm your host, Amy Ahlers, a mom, realtor, and Sonoma County native, and I'm excited to connect you to some amazing people in this beautiful area that we call home. Welcome back to the Beyond the Vines podcast. Thank you again for listening and tuning in. I just love bringing, community businesses, community organizations to Sonoma County, sharing all the information out there. It's just so fun to have new people come in each week and to be able to share that with you. Today, I'm here with Jen Klose. She is the Executive Director of Generation Housing. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her before I pass it off. So after working as a lawyer specializing in real estate law for nearly 15 years, Jen shuttered her law practice to become the founding executive director of Generation Housing. As a lawyer, Jen is most proud of her work facilitating the conversion of the Palms Inn into permanent supportive housing for homeless veterans and vulnerable civilians. Jen served 2 terms on the Santa Rosa School Board, including 3 years as its board's president. Her service included spearheading new enrollment policies that increased the diversity in the district's charter schools, the move from zero-tolerance discipline to restorative practices, a shift in graduation policy that eliminated tracking in high schools and ensured equitable access to college preparatory curriculum for all students, and joining the city of Santa Rosa in revising impact fees to spur development in downtown Santa Rosa. Jen is active in local community leadership, having served on the CASA, YMCA, and the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation boards as co-chair for SoCo Rises and on the Measure N Steering Committee. She is currently serving on the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber Advocacy Committee. Jen has also founded and serves as the co-chair of the College Tea Project, a nonprofit that aims to create a college-going culture for low-income and first-generation students. Jen has witnessed the impact of housing, both positive and negative, on clients, friends, family, and her constituents as an elected official. Jen knows that there is no stronger lever to pull to improve the local housing and environment and educational and health outcome of our citizens than ensuring safe and stable housing for all. She's excited to lead Gen H as she works to move the needle on housing development in Sonoma County to benefit all of the citizens and their quality of life. In her free time, Jen enjoys spending time with her family, friends, and 2 dogs, Coco, Bean, and Lulu Bell, and cycling. And with that, I welcome Jen. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Amy.
Of course, you're not busy at all. That wasn't like a long resume.
It's a ridiculously long bio. And
I made it pretty far
job.
Before I tripped over my words. I got pretty far in there. But no, that is amazing. That is but I will say one of the things that stood out to me most was Lulu Bell, because my parents' dog was Lulu Bell before she passed. So that was
sweet.
Fun. Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your wealth of knowledge. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So for those unfamiliar with Generation Housing, can you share the organization's mission and what inspired its creation?
Yeah. So we're in our 5th year, so we're a relatively new organization still, and it is really a product of research after the 2017 wildfires that was funded by and directed by the Community Foundation. And the Community Foundation had raised money to fund its resilience fund. It was the one kind of long-term recovery fund in the county. Everything else went in short and midterm efforts. And so with that, they wanted to say, like, what's the thing that we should work on? And one of their 3 priority areas, not surprisingly, was housing. And so they hired a housing and philanthropy expert to ask the question, to do the research, asking the question, what are the barriers to housing production in Sonoma County? Like, why are we having such a shortage? Because the fires, they didn't create the shortage. It just exacerbated the shortage. And in some ways was an opportunity because everyone was finally focused on it. And so there's that. And then, once you know the barriers, then what's the solution to those barriers? And that research concluded with the answer that really it was just public and political will that was missing. And so that means there needed to be an advocacy organization.
There you go.
And so here we are.
Wonderful. That's amazing. I didn't realize it was so new.
Yeah, we're pretty new. In fact, we did a lot of our work. We've done, I'd still say the majority of our work has been done during the pandemic.
Wow.
And that was both challenging, right? We launched just 3 months before the shutdown.
Wow.
And it was also an opportunity for us because at that time we had a small and mighty team of 3.
Wow.
And
with a lot to accomplish.
And a lot of people to reach. And when we had sort of a captive audience and people were not totally tired and sick and tired of Zoom yet and webinars and they were home.
Yeah.
And we decided really early on, and actually I'll credit our first policy director, Jesus Guzman, with this by saying we're going to get good at webinars. And we did. And we have stayed that way. And so that was, in some ways, was much easier for a small team to get the word out. And transitioning to in-person while we have a bigger team, it's a big county, and there are a lot of people to reach. So so it's a big job to get out and get the word out.
Yeah, that's amazing. What led you to personally get involved?
That's let's see. I'll try to do that the short way because I don't have a housing background. I grew up here, and I think was raised with a high value of service, and that's just kind of a family value. But I was a practicing lawyer, and my service at as of 2017 was on the school board, and I was the school board president when we had the fires in Santa Rosa. Yeah, and so we had in one night 800 of our students lost their homes and 100 of our staff members. And then after that, for about the 3-4 months after that, being the school board president all of a sudden turned into a full-time job. I can't tell you exactly what I did all day. I just know I was really busy all day long being the school board president, which I had never been before. But a lot of it was coming to convenings and meetings about how we're going to rebuild and rebuild better and what that looked like. And it was really through those meetings that I was like, man, this housing thing, like I care about our community and in investing upstream in its success and its future. And even the work that I'm doing in education on the school board, I don't think we can accomplish it unless we conquer this housing thing first. And so when the Community Foundation asked me to be part of a volunteer incubation effort for this organization, and it was at the time called the Cross-Sector Housing Leadership Team, which is
that's a long name.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, rolls right off.
Easy peasy. They wanted people wearing different hats. So there's Peter Rumble from the Chamber, Elise Hempel from Federal People Services, and
love her,
and Carissa Cruz, and Carrie Fugit, Chris Grable, and then me, and we all wore kind of different hats, and I wore the education hat. And I think about 9 months through, I was like, I think I want to apply for this job when they open it up for executive director, because I can use my skills as an advocate that I developed as a lawyer.
Wow.
But for something that really is much more aligned with my values.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about housing, drinking from a fire hose, but and still am not. Housing is so complicated.
Yes, and so many different aspects.
So much.
Yeah,
and also even just like, are you involved in advocacy for production or protection or preservation and those things, and we could talk about that, and we're mostly production oriented. But in any way, so it was like, I'm going to do this, and here I am.
Wow. That's amazing. I love like hearing the backstory of how it all connected, and really coming down to the fires. That's really interesting. I didn't realize like that was such a key piece.
Yeah. It really was the catalyst. And again, it's hard to characterize something that we know was such a tragedy for so many people as an opportunity. But in terms of facing many of the issues in our county that I think had been ignored for a long time. One, say like language equity, equitable access, and housing. There just wasn't the attention on it until then. And so in that way, it started a good conversation.
That's amazing. Yeah. Taking something bad and turning it into something productive. Yeah. A tragedy. What are some of the most urgent housing challenges facing our community right now? I know there's probably a list of 100.
There are. And of course there are ones that are, there are challenges that people are experiencing right now in their homes. They might have substandard housing, but because there's well, let me back out actually. Let me give you a better answer to that. Overall, we don't have enough houses.
Definitely.
Like the number one problem is we don't have enough houses.
I see that as a realtor every day.
Yeah, right. We just don't. And we don't have enough homes at all of the income levels. Even
for sure.
We don't even have enough luxury homes, I hate to say it. That's not my chief concern, but I do know that like hospitals have a hard time attracting specialty doctors, that some of the high level executives are hard to attract here, that's hard to attract new big businesses because of that. So while that's not our chief concern at all, it's just the point is it's everywhere. And then of course our lowest wage earners we have the biggest shortage in that real very low income affordable housing, and those are the folks who really experience the difficulty of affording and finding and maintaining housing the most acutely in the most personal way. But so because there's just that lack of supply that we need, that we are not serving the people who live and work here, that means that people pay too much.
Right.
It means that people move too much. It means people are housing insecure. It means folks are homeless. It means folks who work here, who would like to live here, are instead spending 2 to 3 hours on the road, which in turn impacts their families, impacts our climate, impacts our traffic. So there are lots and lots. Or you have a home that you have finally eked into, but you don't want to upset the landlord, so you don't complain about anything.
Right.
So you fix it yourself, or they don't fix it up because they don't have to compete. So there's just all of these problems with how we experience the housing crisis. But really, first and foremost, is there's just not enough.
Right. That's totally, I see that every day as well. And I think it's important, like you're saying, it's in every area, every price point. Everyone's experiencing that. Yeah.
Right. And for your industry, people are stuck when they don't necessarily want to be.
Definitely.
So like one of the things that we hear about a lot are seniors who are overhoused.
Yes.
Right? We have more, our kids are gone. We have more house than, frankly, physically they can take care of, or that
stairs that
or
they don't want to climb anymore.
Stairs they don't want to climb. But where do they go?
Yeah.
What do they downsize to in a way that where they're not really being hit financially? And then those are homes that could be taken by the young family coming up who has 3 kids and would like the yard. They don't mind mowing it and the stairs. And so, and so that then impacts your industry because you all are not making as many sales.
Totally.
I mean, it's all interrelated.
Totally. So interesting. I didn't even think about things too, like you were saying, like commutes and like being away from families, and then how that affects the environment as well. Like there's just so many off points of all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me add one more thing, Amy, since you are, coming from the real estate perspective, is that the other thing is that that except for a few exceptions, when you sell a home, it's or when you buy a home, it's reappraised.
Right.
And property tax but the property tax increases, which they wouldn't otherwise because of Prop 13. And that money funds our county and city governments.
Interesting.
And so if there's not enough movement in the real estate industry, there's not enough sales, there's not enough reappraisals, then it also hurts the funding of, that funds our core infrastructure.
Great spinoff on that. That's a really good point. Yeah. Interesting. Can you share a recent project or policy initiative that Generation Housing has helped lead or support locally?
Sure. The most recent, I'd say, and that the most we've been talking about in the last, our priority policy in the past, say, 18 months has been around trying to get our jurisdictions to lower, if not eliminate, impact fees, or to make them proportional to size. There are a couple of jurisdictions who are starting to move to this, and state law is requiring them to do this eventually, but it's taking a while, and the state gives them a while. But most places, if you build it's a per door charge. So you could build a 4,000 square foot mansion, or you could build a 500 square foot studio apartment, and your fees will be the same.
Interesting.
And that makes no sense, right?
Right.
I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
And in particular, when you have a multifamily apartment building, or even a small apartment building or a big apartment building, the strains on infrastructure are per capita less than like if you build a single family home at the end of a cul-de-sac. So it is. So we've been trying to undertake to get our jurisdictions to speed up in terms of adopting a proportional model. Now, I will say that there has been some success in this, but we instead our kind of second choice, and it is, I think, almost as impactful, is that the county of Santa Rosa. The county of Sonoma and the city of Santa Rosa, and then soon the city of Cotati are actually eliminating or waiving many of their fees, reducing to zero their fees for affordable housing. Petaluma did it first, actually. Sorry, Petaluma. I'm right here in Petaluma. I know. And really, the city of Petaluma has a great housing team and a real pro-housing ethic. And so I'll give them a shout out, especially since we're right here. So getting those fees to be reduced, because the biggest problem right now with getting housing built is that it just doesn't pencil. Yeah. It is really, really, really hard. So anything that we can do to control those costs, I think we need to do. If we as a county, both as residents and as leaders, agree that housing and homelessness is our number one concern, and that's what we hear time and time again, then we got to do what we can. We can't do anything about interest rates.
Right.
Can't do anything about the price of 2x4s.
Right.
But there are other things that we can control in terms of cost. So reducing cost and also reducing the time it takes to get something developed. That time is money in development.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So those are the things that we are really chiefly concerned on. But those were real big wins to get the county, City of Santa Rosa, and now City of Cotati to bring their impact fees down to zero. The reason I didn't name Petaluma is because we didn't have to make them do it. Y'all did it all by themselves.
Totally.
I mean,
Totally.
shout out to Petaluma.
Woo woo. Yeah. So how do you kind of work with local government to make these, to help like spearhead these policies, and also developers, community members? Do you see a lot of community members getting involved? And I'm throwing a lot at you. Yeah.
Right. There's a few that you might have to bring me back.
Yeah, totally.
On those. And let's start with governmental leadership first. And we try to maintain open lines of communication and real positive relationships with our governmental leaders. Sometimes we have to push them a little bit too, and so every now and then they're not as happy with the way that we provide them feedback or talk about the issues publicly. But we do. We convene our housing staff leads across the county periodically to encourage collaboration, to get feedback from them, to provide our ideas on how we can move things forward. We have one-on-ones with some of the leaders of the bigger cities like Petaluma, like Santa Rosa, to make sure that we have those open lines of communication. We one member of our team, and supported by our deputy director Stephanie, but one member of our team, Omar, spends a lot of time reviewing the agendas every week for, I think, just under 40 boards and commissions throughout the county that make decisions on housing, and to just follow those agendas, and then puts out an action alert on Monday morning, or a housing pulse that says, here's what's coming, and an action alert if we think there's something we got to take action on. So that's something that we follow, which is challenging. That's just a lot of time, and those are the number of boards and commissions in itself is a problem, and one of the things that we'd like to change. And then, of course, when we need to influence our decision makers, whether that's it's generally a city council or board of supervisors, then we talk to them one-on-one, and we talk to them behind the scenes, but also we have public messaging. So that's, through social media and through getting folks to show up in person at council meetings, or sign petitions, and try to either push the council members, or sometimes it's to give the council members who are completely in the right space, but just need some political cover. So that's kind of how we deal with leadership. And I've been talking for a while, but I know you had some subparts.
Yeah, I know. I kind of spiraled off of that too, with like how the community can get involved and is involved, and it sounds like that's one way. Do you see a lot of community members that are not necessarily a part of the organization stepping up?
Yeah, and that is actually really critical to our success. We are, and we knew from the beginning that to be successful, that we had to be a big tent organization. It couldn't be the same 5 or 6 housing folks showing up week after week saying the same thing about housing. Right. But it had to be people, really folks from all different sectors, all different economic stratuses, I guess. We needed to have a diversity, a voice that represented the diversity of the people here to show up. And sometimes, like I said, push, ask for what we need, demand what we need, even say we are tired of waiting, this needs to go faster. But sometimes just to say good job, because
that's a great point.
Yeah, it's our, I actually think that most of our elected leaders are of the right opinion and share our goals and values. But that doesn't mean it's easy when you've got naysayers, when you've got folks pushing you on the other side, when they're the hard decisions, where the decisions that cost money, that hard decisions that are going to ask staff to do more. So you need political cover. You need support. And that, whether it's a petition or an email or a letter, those things are really helpful. But the number one most helpful thing is for folks to actually take time out of their day or night to show up at a council meeting or a board of supervisors meeting and walk up to the microphone and ask for what they want, give their personal story, but actually show up in person. And it's unfortunate that that's the most impactful thing because it's hard. It takes time. It takes guts.
Yeah,
it takes,
that's a good point.
It's uncertain. You're like, we do the best to say, like, we think it's going to start at 6 and it will be done in 90 minutes, but there's no telling. So it is asking a lot, but every elected will tell you it's the most impactful thing.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Are there any misconceptions about affordable housing that you encounter and would like to clear up?
I think about affordable housing in particular, there are lots. And I guess, kind of starting with like, how do we define affordable housing, like capital A, affordable housing. And that would be housing that is subsidized and generally deed restricted, like it says on the deed, it has to be keep to this certain income level so that folks are not paying more than 30% of their income on housing. Okay, so that is at least the attempt of affordable housing. And sometimes it doesn't work out quite that well. You might make 80% of area median income and you're in a 100% area median income unit, but it's better than paying at something that's priced at 140 AMI. So it's but that's kind of the definition of affordable housing. And then especially when we talk. And there's kinds of affordable housing. People think apartments only, but it also might be older, not big apartments and big brand new apartments, but might be older little 4-unit cutie pie apartment buildings that we have in like the older areas of our downtowns, our urban cores throughout the county. That's called naturally occurring affordable housing, meaning they're small, they've existed on the market for a long time, and so they're just kind of naturally more affordable. But folks have an idea that affordable housing serves only or primarily the lowest of our wage earners or folks on public assistance or folks who are just exiting out of homelessness. And those things are true to some degree, right? But it's not everybody. In fact, most affordable housing can go up to 120 AMI. You're talking about teachers and early firefighters and lots of healthcare workers and early professionals. And these are people who, it is expensive to work here or to live here.
And we want to attract people here.
And we want to attract more people here, and we need them. We don't have enough construction workers to do the job of the building that we need to do because it's expensive to work here. And so they're visiting construction workers even. But those are the folks, it's the heart and soul of our workforce, like who we called essential workers during the pandemic. Most of those folks are eligible for affordable housing. So that's the first thing is like who lives there. The second thing is that there is an idea that multifamily housing, in particular affordable housing, is going to lower the home prices in your area. Like if an apartment building goes down the street, this is gonna hurt my home value. And I understand the concern. Like lots of people have their retirement tied up in their home. I certainly do.
Totally.
It is, it's our biggest asset here in this country generally. But it's just not true.
Right.
Like the data actually just doesn't show that. It's not going to. There's also an idea that kind of housing is going to increase crime rates in your neighborhood. Also not true. If anything, what it's going to do is bring more kids to your neighborhood, which I think most of us like to see, and like to hear happy kids outside and seeing them. And as we see school closure after school closure, we know that our county is getting older and our younger people are leaving, which is real concerning about our future. So I think those are the big things. I guess the other one that isn't necessarily a myth, but might be sort of an overblown concern is around parking. Is that this idea that, there's going to be nowhere to park in my neighborhood once this apartment building comes in, especially if they have limited or no parking requirements. And, as it has played out here and in other places, there might be more cars on the street, but nobody's not finding a place to park.
Right. Interesting.
And I always find, I get a little snarky about this one when folks are like, where am I going to park? I can't park in my space in front of my house. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's not your space. Right. Not yours. It's public. Second of all, I'm pretty sure you're wearing a step counter on your wrist. And at the end of the day, you're bragging about what kind of steps you had or lamenting that you didn't get more. And so if you have to walk from 2 houses down, I think it's going to be okay. So I think the parking impact of that is not as great as people think.
Interesting. That's super helpful. Thank you. How can everyday residents, homeowners, renters, business owners get involved in supporting your mission as Generation 8 and Generation Housing? Yeah.
Thanks for the question. I love that because that is what we need. Again, like our little team, people get sick and tired of hearing from us. They want to hear from the decision makers, want to hear from the public, from residents. And so I think, we want to make it easy for people to get involved and to do the heavy lifting so you don't have to read the agendas, you don't have to follow the stuff. But what we do need you to do is just sign up, put your email and on our and get our newsletter and to get Monday's Housing Pulse emails and check them out. It'll take you just a minute. You can skim them to see if something catches your eye, and then if there's an action alert, even better, give us a phone number so we can text you when it's like, hey, you care about Cotati housing, you care about Healdsburg housing. Here's something coming up this week, and we need you to show up. And we'll give you lots of ways to plug in. Like there are folks who there's just no possible way they're going to have time to come to a meeting. And I get that. You got little kids at home. You got 2 jobs. We get it. But you can definitely sign a petition. You can definitely shoot off an email. We have a letter to the editor tool on our website. Letters to the editor are really powerful. Maybe the easiest way is to like and share our social media posts to follow us and start following those. We're trying to do more short videos so they can be fun and educational. So you can look for those. But we try to provide a way for everybody to show up. But first, just liking and following our social media channels, which are all We Are Jen H, WEARE, Jen H, GEN. Man, it's hard because I'm Jen.
The J and the G.
All right, because I'm Jen with the J, but it's Jen H with the G.
And I can link it in the show notes too.
So follow those and go to generationhousing.org and sign up to stay involved.
Amazing. Yeah. What role does housing play in shaping equity and opportunity in the community?
It's at the center of it. I mean, I think it's in my bio, and it is. I absolutely believe it that improving the health of our community, both on individual levels and as a community in every sense of the word, health in the broadest sense of the word, that the strongest thing we can do is improve our housing system, right? To make sure that we have the housing that meets people's needs as they move through the cycles of their lives, the stages of their lives, and it's connected to everything. Healthcare has been one of our biggest financial supporters. Healthcare institutions, Providence, Kaiser, Healthcare Foundation, Northern Sonoma County, Healthy Petaluma, Sutter, all of them have contributed. And the reason is because that housing impacts either negatively or positively the people they serve, and so their ability to fulfill their mission as healthcare providers, but also as businesses. They can't hire the people they need. They can't maintain the people they need. They can't provide healthy, work-life balances for the people that they hire unless they solve this housing thing. And so they've been big investors because they really get the intersectionality of that. And then obviously, if you're not a healthy person, then that is impacting so many things. But educational outcomes are tied to safe and stable and affordable housing. Health outcomes are tied. Your ability for our local businesses to attract and retain employees and to do it in an affordable way where they're not churning through and burning through employees constantly, that is impacted by it. Our climate is really impacted in terms of our individual behavior, first and foremost, by how many miles we spend on the road. And so the more housing we have by folks' jobs, the better we can do at limiting our greenhouse gas emissions and our climate impact. So it is connected to everything: our local prosperity, our local health, and when we are a healthier community, it is, I think, a more equitable community. But whenever we are struggling, right? Whenever we're struggling as a community to be healthy, to be prosperous, the people who are most severely, acutely, immediately impacted are our marginalized populations. It is our communities of color. It's our lowest wage earners. It's folks who are already feeling. It's the LGBTQ population. Like this is all in the data that says that the first folks to feel the squeeze of a housing crisis are the communities that are already marginalized. So really attacking that is not only good for just like the overall health of the community, but first and foremost, it is important for improving equity in our community. Yeah.
That's amazing. Really amazing. How can people kind of learn more and support your work? I know I've been to a meeting before. Is that like a good place to start?
Yes, that is a great, because I didn't say that's how people could get involved. Was we have events. We have at least quarterly something called the Gen H House Party. They're in different locations. You went to a Gen H House Party. It's on the third Thursday whenever we have it, generally when we have it. We try to rotate the locations throughout the county. It is informal. You learn a little bit about generation housing. You meet people who are like-minded and who are also concerned with and involved in housing. And really build community and support, because I think, one of the things about asking people to get involved as advocates is asking people to step outside their comfort zone. And so building community in that way is great. So come into the house parties. We have kind of one-off events. We have a documentary film about seniors and their struggle to stay housed in some cases right now. On Sunday, September. You'll have to look on the website. I think it's the 7th. I know it's the 7th. I just don't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday. And at the library in downtown Santa Rosa. And we have events like that, and you can always find them on our website. We have a great, fun Housing Champions party every year where we honor folks who are really working in our community for housing. And, if you can take an afternoon off work on November 7th, we have our annual Housing Summit where we also produce and release our annual State of Housing report. Excuse me. And there you learn not only more about housing and housing solutions, but how to really engage. So if you really want to get engaged, that's a great way to do it. This year it's going to be at the Hannah Boy Center, and we're excited. We have great events. I will brag on us that, and the team for putting it together every year.
That's awesome. I will say the one I went to was packed. Yeah, definitely packed. That's awesome. Is there anything that I might have missed that you would like listeners to know?
Oh, man, that's always like the hard question, right? And do you have any questions for us? I think the thing that is, this is like kind of opening up a whole nother conversation, maybe, or it can be really short. But, right now there is a understandable concern about changes in this country and changes that are flowing from federal level decisions and how it impacts us as a local community. And there's right to be concerned about that on the housing front, right? Where the housing vouchers are being limited or eliminated in some cases. That is going to impact folks. Anything that hurts people in the pocketbook is making economic situations even harder and is going to impact folks' ability to move and survive in their housing. But there's also like sort of there's an opportunity here too, which is that this is a moment, I think, where we can really think nationally but act locally, where we know that we have housing goals here. They're not going away. They're only getting harder. Like, in fact, since we were a new organization, the problem has only gotten harder because interest rates almost tripled. They were tripled at one moment. And they're still high. And inflation has made everything harder. So everything is harder. The problem has stayed the same. The solutions to it have become harder. But we absolutely need to be able to keep people here. If we want to, we are a pretty progressive community. We consistently vote in a progressive way. And I think being able to show that we can solve problems at a local level is actually going to help us advance our values on the national stage as well.
That's really, really interesting. And that's a great point about how everything's gotten harder. That just makes your job more important and what you're doing more important.
Yeah, it feels weighty.
I bet it does. Yeah, for sure. Where can my listeners find you?
Well, you can find us on the web, obviously, on the social media channels. You can find us at our events. Our civic engagement manager, Sonia Bick-Barwick, is out and about at lots of different places and loves to meet with people she's amazing. Loves to meet with people who want to get engaged. And you could just email her at Sonia, SONIA, at generationhousing.org. We're all just our first name at generationhousing.org. And all our emails are on our website. But and signing up for our newsletter and our Housing Pulse and Action Alerts, like you're going to get lots of opportunities. Every now and then you'll find us at a farmer's market or a festival, but there's always some way. And we'd love for you to do that.
Great.
Email me anytime.
Great. I'll put all of that in the show notes too so people can find you easily.
Great.
So wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in today. This was super interesting information to hear, and I'm glad that we were able to have the conversation.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. And thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, please be sure to like and subscribe, learn more about Sonoma County and all that we have to offer here.